Hello, hello, and happy Tuesday to you. If you're joining me on the replay, happy replay day to you as well. Welcome to Level Up Live. I'm excited to have you as part of our conversation today.
Welcome to Level Up with Winnie Sun. Market updates. Award-winning financial pro. Get ready. I present to you Level Up with Winnie Sun.
Hello, friends. I'm Winnie Sun, your host, Forbes contributor, CNBC council member, and award-winning financial pro, here to keep you on top of top relevant trending business news and maybe a little something fun to wrap up the day. But most importantly, what makes our show special is that we are currently going live on 8 different social media platforms right now. And so wherever you're joining me from, welcome to the show. Definitely do me a favor, say hello, let me know where you're joining me from, and of course, how you're doing. We're going to be sharing audience feedback during our community moments throughout the show. First off, let's start with how the market closed today. Now, if you've been watching the financial markets today, you know this is sort of been deemed a pretty choppy week. We sort of predicted some volatility, and today certainly showed that. The Dow closed down 312 points today, the Nasdaq down 109, and the S&P 500 down 43 points as well. As you know, the Federal Open Markets Committee begins its 2-day policy making meeting here today. Central bankers, including Fed Chairman Jerome Powell, are expected to announce tomorrow a 0.75% rate hike on interest rates this week. Now, because of that, stock market continues to be very choppy. In fact, closed negative today because investors are concerned. We've been seeing the August Consumer Price Index report that just came out talking about how inflation prices just continue to get higher, and you and I are spending just even more, not only when it comes to grocery prices, but if you're looking for a new home, good luck. You're probably looking at mortgage rates also increasing by almost double in the last 6 months. It's been incredible. Now, stocks continue to have a very choppy day today. We're expected probably tomorrow as well. The question, of course, is if the Fed's going to increase interest rates by 0.75%, which is what most people are expecting, or if it's going to go the full 1% increase, which some people have speculated. But more important than just how quickly the rates will be increased is also what Fed Chairman Jerome Powell is going to say. The expectations that we're seeing now is not only will rates go up, but we actually might have to come to grip and comfort with the idea of having to go into a recession to decrease interest rates. In fact, we're hoping that inflation, or I should say, inflation levels get closer to the 2 to 3% range than where it is in 8 to 9% range, and what that really means. So, a lot to be concerned about. If you're an investor, you're looking at your account, you're looking at the financial markets, wondering when things are going to get better, at least in short term, it doesn't look like things are going to get that much better. And Eek, you are right. I see Vicky joining us from Facebook Live. Thank you, Vicky, so much for being here. Crocs has fired Joshua joining us on YouTube Live, doing very well seeing you here. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate your support. And so many of you, I see a lot of you on LinkedIn today as well. Thank you so much for being here, and tell me how you're doing. All right. This is a story that I want to sort of segue over to because it really deserves your attention. And today with all the different stories coming out that we're seeing, on the political front, and we're going to get to the NyQuil story in just a minute, all these things to be trending. And it's sort of, in my opinion, sort of pushed this topic a little bit lower. But I want to make sure that this is on your radar. So the U.S. retirement system has just been given a C+ rating. This is according to a story that was shared on CNBC. And I wanted to talk to you about why this was the case. So the U.S. retirement system, now this includes if you're in your 401k, you're invested in a Roth IRA or an IRA or whatnot. This makes up about $39 trillion that is saved for retirement purposes here in the United States. And as you know, we are one of the wealthiest nations in the world. So how are we doing on the retirement system front? What I mean is, how are Americans doing in their retirement planning and what will they have in their future? Well, let's just say that we may, as a country, be average at best. Because recently, my friend Greg at CNBC shared this article. He wrote that global retirement rankings from industry players, including the Mercer CFA Institute Global Pension Index and the Natixis Investment Managers 2021 Global Retirement Index, show that countries such as Iceland, Norway, Switzerland, the Netherlands, Denmark, Australia, and a few others are doing much better for their constituents than we are, here are in the United States. So, what does it mean and what does it take for a country to score well? Well, let's look at Iceland. Okay, Iceland scored pretty much number one on both of these reports. Well, their population has some of the best retirement benefits, and here's what makes it special. Not only do they have great retirement benefit options, but their retirement benefits are sustainable, meaning that they can be continued on and they don't have to be tweaked every other year. Less of their retirees are in poverty levels, which is really key. And there's more retirement income equality. So, what does that mean? I'm going to get to that. But Norway, the Netherlands, Switzerland, Denmark, Australia, Ireland, and New Zealand all scored very, very well. So let's compare that to how we're doing here in the United States. Well, as of 2021, Americans had over $39 trillion saved for retirement. This is according to the Investment Company Institute, as shared in a CNBC article. However, that doesn't mean that most Americans will be okay for retirement. In fact, the data is actually pretty worrying. Poverty rates are very high for Americans 75 years and older. In fact, about 28% here in the United States versus 11% on average in the rest of the world. So there's something in the United States that they refer to as the three-legged stool. Now, what is the three-legged stool and how is this important to retirement planning? Well, the three-legged stool talks about this U.S. retirement system. And what it is in order to provide for yourself for retirement, you're relying on three pillars. The number one being Social Security. Number two is your individual savings. And number three is workplace plans, such as your 401k plan or 403b, or possibly if you have a pension at work. So what's really concerning obstacles here in the United States as US is really sort of wobbling in the area of workplace plans. We have a big access issue. In fact, the article talks about John Stablehouse, who is a senior fellow at the Brookings Institution and adjunct research professor at the University of Michigan, estimated that only 53% of Americans or the US workers actually had even access to a 401k type of plan in 2018. And according to Center for Retirement Initiatives, about 57 million Americans were included in the retirement savings coverage gap in 2020, meaning they didn't have access to a workplace retirement plan. So you might be asking, why is this? Like, do they have a plan at work and they just don't fund it? Well, the federal government doesn't require that individuals have to save at all, right? Businesses have to even offer a 401k, and forget about pension. They don't have to have a pension either. But business has largely transitioned away from pension plans as it is. So what about those higher ranked countries? Like, how do they do it? Well, to give you an idea, by contrast, 19 of the developed nations actually require companies of all sizes to offer some level of coverage. They also make sure that businesses have to offer a retirement plan. And also they require individuals, employees, to also have a personal account. And in most cases, having a combination of the two. So they're saying it's not just complete freedom of choice of whether you're going to want to retire or if you're going to want to save, or if you're a company, if you want to actually set up a retirement plan. In many countries, they require it. You have to save, you have to have a personal account, and companies, yeah, you got to offer a retirement plan. And so, why is this so important? Because in 12 of the countries, the arrangements such as this enable that 75% of working age individuals actually have retirement plans. In Denmark, Finland, and the Netherlands, for example, 90% or more actually of people have a retirement plan. This is huge because this really sets you ahead for when you get older and you want to have retirement savings, right? So then you might say, well, Winnie, I know about like the traditional IRA and the Roth IRA. You can do those, right? If you don't have a 401k or you don't have a SEP IRA, you could still do that. And that is true. But did you know that only 13% of households contribute to a traditional IRA or a Roth IRA in 2022 or 2020, I should say. This is according, let me do that again. So only 13% of households actually contribute to a traditional or Roth IRA in 2020. This is according to the Investment Company Institute. And in fact, in 2021, IRAs held about $14 trillion, right? Which is almost double of what's in 401k plans, which is about $7.7 trillion. So you might say, how does that make any sense? If less people contribute to an IRA and more people contribute to a 401k or 403b, a work plan, why is it the IRAs have almost double the amount that a 401k work plan would have? Makes sense, right? Well, something that you may not know, but I do know as a financial professional, this is what I do for a living, that most IRAs aren't contributed to directly. You know how each year you might be able to contribute $6,000 to an IRA or Roth IRA, maybe $7,000 if you're over the age of 50? Well, so how are you going to get to a larger sum, right? Well, oftentimes you can also contribute into these accounts from a 401k at work when you leave the company, when you retire the company. If you choose to do a rollover, if you choose to do an I rollover, you can move your 401k or 403b or SEP IRA plan amounts into an IRA. And that's why IRAs actually hold more money than most 401ks, because it just goes to show you that most people, when they leave a company, take their money with them as well. Now, in 2019, $554 billion was rolled into IRAs. So this is more than 7 times the $76 billion that's contributed to directly into an IRA. So it just goes to show you so much more money comes into these IRAs from existing contributions, which just goes to show you why saving in 401ks is certainly better than saving into IRAs, but even better is doing both. And why is that? Is because 401ks have one advantage that IRAs don't, and that is typically easier accessibility. If you have it through work, it's easy to sign up for. You can make contributions, before they go into your paycheck or after they go into your paycheck, however you have it set up. But Americans are 15 times more likely to put money into their retirement accounts if they can do so through work, because it's so much easier when it's a payroll deduction. Now, this is according to AARP. This study did show 15 more times to consider putting money into a 401k. Now, what's interesting too is that many employees that work on small businesses, we know many small businesses here in the United States, unfortunately, many small businesses, and probably the majority of them, don't have a 401k option as well. So if you're working at a smaller company, you're not able to contribute, definitely make sure to try to fund your IRA or your Roth IRA every year if you can. Now, according to a recent Social Security report, Social Security Administration report from 2017, this is what's also really eye-opening. Who contributes into a 401k? Well, 94% of the wealthiest of Americans, that top quintile, 68% of sort of that middle income earners contribute to a 401k. And then just 9% of the bottom quintile of every workforce actually contribute to a 401k. So you could say that definitely the benefit of a 401k is going towards a highly compensated, or at least a middle class, upper middle class employee. And it makes sense, right? Because sometimes if you're making less, you might not feel like you have enough to be able to sock away for your future. So the question then lies is it the lack of savings that really hurts us, right? And the answer is actually not necessarily because savings is certainly harder when you're earning less. But there's still a lot of other factors, including inflation, the increasing healthcare costs, and the fact that people, all of us, are living longer, which means we have a greater risk of outliving our money. What does that really mean? That means you could be in your 80s and your 90s and you could still be going strong physically, but you don't have enough money to even take care of yourself because you've used it all, and Social Security might not cover everything. And speaking of Social Security, Social Security was never designed to be the majority of your retirement funds. I think it's worth repeating. Social Security was never designed to provide for you for the majority of your retirement planning needs. But according to the Social Security Administration, about a quarter of seniors, 25% of seniors, actually rely on public benefits for about 90% of their income. And what this equates to, as of August of 2022, the average Social Security monthly benefit is about $1,000, $1,600. And this is just a little bit above poverty levels. So that just goes to show you that those who don't save and haven't had the ability to save, living on primary Social Security, they're really going to have a very difficult time in retirement. So that's why here in the United States, unfortunately, we got a solid C plus on our retirement plan, and several other countries, smaller countries, definitely should be an example to hopefully our government as we go into election period time of just the improvements that we need to make of really paying attention to retirement levels, of course, personal savings responsibilities, companies making sure that they have these retirement plans available for their employees to make it easier for our employees that we care about to save for their future needs. And of course, making sure they keep on top of their Social Security figures and doing those calculations to see that you have enough when you finally do retire. And if you do plan to retire later or earlier, knowing where you're going to stand before you stop working. That's key when you stop receiving that last paycheck. All right. So let's segue a little bit and talk about housing. But before I go there, I got to say hello. I see Sadiq joining us from YouTube Live. Hello, Sadiq. Thank you so much for joining us. And Vicky is talking about healthcare benefits. I see that. I know it's shocking news, right, Vicky? It'll be interesting, Vicky, because I know you are joining us from the UK, how UK would rank on this survey as well. I'm going to have to do a little research and see. Here in America, we got a C plus. Iceland obviously probably got an A plus there, but it really is to see where you stand as well. And if you're joining us from another country, it'd be interesting to see how you feel about the retirement benefits in your country. Is your country good about taking care of their seniors and their retirees? Do more retirees seem to be comfortable, right? At peace? Do they have enough for their daily living expenses, or is there still a significant amount of your population struggling, like we're seeing here in the United States, a big portion that are still living under poverty at retirement age? That's rough. That's really rough. But hopefully that's something that is on people's radars. It was an article. This was inspired and certainly led by the article shared by Greg on CNBC. If you didn't get a chance to take a look at, definitely do that. I want to thank him for doing that article. I thought it was really, really compelling. All right. Now let's segue and talk about housing. Why don't we? Okay. So we've talked about housing. We know that this week, the Federal Reserve is probably going to boost interest rates again, which is not a good thing if you haven't refinanced your home, if you're looking to buy a new home, or if you're hoping one day to buy a new home. Mortgage rates jumping up by 100% in such a short amount of time is not a nice thing. And so not only are first-time home buyers or, people in the market to buy a home, or people who want to refinance sort of blue, another area that is also blue is the area of home builders. In fact, home builders are people who, companies and people who build brand new homes so that they get rented out or sold. Well, looks like their sentiment is at an all-time low. In fact, this month, it fell 3 points to 46. This is according to the National Association of home builders and the Wells Fargo Housing Market Index. So they said anything below 50 is considered pretty bad, pretty negative. But nearly a quarter of builders recently reported that they just feel just awful. They're just saying with higher costs for land and of course employee costs, with labor costs, and supply chain issues with material costs, everything is costing so much more so that they're saying that the demand for these new buildings is at its lowest level since 2014, May of 2014. Now, with the exception of sort of the beginning of the coronavirus pandemic, the pandemic that we're still in, when it first started in 2020, I guess that was the only time where home builder sentiment was even lower than it is currently. Well, but just give you an idea, the sentiment was at 83 in January of this year. So it's here about half of what it was just previously. So here's some reasons of why builders feel that things are so bleak and so depressing and so awful. Well, number one, of course, rising interest rates. What we just talked about, like probably rates are going to go up even higher tomorrow. If it doesn't go up tomorrow, it's not going to not go up tomorrow. It's going up tomorrow. It's just a matter of how much interest rates will go up. But the average 30-year fixed mortgage, which is also the most popular mortgage here in the United States, well, just about the beginning of the year, rates were about 3%. And now, currently, we're sitting at over 6%. So you're talking about a 100% increase on mortgage rates in just a matter of months, which is a big deal. So you're talking about an already very expensive housing market. Now it's become even less affordable to first-time home buyers, to millennials, to Gen Zers. Like, how are they going to be able to provide for themselves and buy their first home? It's going to be very, very difficult. Now, the Federal Reserve, meanwhile, is of course expected to increase their benchmark rate again, but inflation remains very, very high. And the Fed Chairman Jerome Powell has already said that pretty much at all costs, they're going to get inflation down, even if it means pushing the United States into a recession, which hopefully we're not there anytime soon. But I don't know about you, many people that I've been talking to, that I work with, already feel like we're in a recession. You might feel that way as well. And I suspect when we go in the holidays this year, we're going to see that play out, because I think a lot of people are going to keep their wallets shut a little bit more so than they typically would around the holiday season for gifts and holiday excursions and things like that. So it'll be interesting to see what that is about. So Vicky, I see her Vicky's comment saying that house building coming up in America. Yeah, you saw that. So yeah, it's been trending. It's really important news that's been coming out. And speaking of, interesting news, let me just say that I've been hearing this. I've heard this as a child. I think my parents used to say this, and then I've heard this even through my college years and my first job. And I think some of you have heard this too, or maybe you even believe it, that the notion that successful people are somewhat smarter. Have you heard of that? And I think there's that sort of that cultural thing. You see people who are successful, like maybe like Mark Cuban, or maybe Jeff Bezos or Steve Jobs back in the day. Successful people usually associate successful people with being smarter, right? Well, as you know, that's not always the case. Sometimes it just means that they have more money. But I think we can agree that this isn't always the case. In fact, I thought I would share this story with you because, even financial news, we have some fun, interesting stuff. And this is a company called Beyond Meat. Now, Beyond Meat, if you didn't see this already, okay, so Beyond Meat's chief operating officer, his name is Doug Ramsey. Well, have you seen this article? I guess this past weekend, he's now being suspended as the COO of Beyond Meat. I'm sure that position pays him quite well. And Beyond Meat has been all over the news, right, for making these non-meat hamburgers that taste like hamburgers. And I guess a lot of fast food restaurants use their products and whatnot. Well, yeah, so this past weekend, I guess he was watching some sort of college football game and he got maybe heated or whatnot. He punched another person, but not only that, he bit the person's nose. Yeah, he bit the person's nose. So during the Arkansas college football game. So he's 53-year-old COO, my friends. Curious to think what you think about that. Now, he's being charged with terroristic threatening and third-degree battery. I guess, yeah. So the COO, major company here, decided to punch someone and not just stop at that, but actually chew someone's nose. I guess, maybe he should like read the company mission statement. I think they're kind of meat free, meatless company trying to make things taste like meat. I don't know, she just stuck with his job. I feel like this is one of those teaching moments. Let me know what you think about this. I see Vicky. I feel like you are really like surprised by this. Yes, Josh, our cross-sex fighter. Yes, in fact, he bit a person's nose. The COO, the Chief Operating Officer. This is financial news. Joshua, it really is. Chief Operating Officer. This past weekend, what did you do this weekend? This weekend, they're like, going through the boardroom, talking to the CEO and executive staff. Oh, what did you do this weekend? Maybe someone went fishing. Maybe when someone played golf. Oh, what did you do? Oh, I watched a football game and I punched someone. I bit them in the nose. Yeah. Yeah. So Sadiq says he may need anger management therapy. Yeah. Maybe that's part of his employee benefits. I don't know. He's suspended right now. I don't know if I would want someone like that C-level at my company, which just goes to prove the point that more successful doesn't necessarily equate to being smarter, right? Okay. Speaking of things that are not that smart, let's segue because here's another big story that was trending on social media. Of course, not exactly financial news, but of course, I always want to keep you on things that are trending. And of course, and if it's helpful, that's what we do here. Right? We're a show about helping and being kind and helping one another and keeping you safe, most importantly. Now, you may have seen this was crazy. I shared this on Twitter just a few hours before jumping on here with you. Well, here's something that came out of TikTok. Now, I know some people get their financial news on TikTok. I have opinions on that. I won't share with you on the show today. I know a lot of people learn a lot of things on TikTok. I actually have learned all sorts of different ways to organize my house through TikTok. That I think is awesome. Different ways to clean around the house. That's been great on TikTok. And sometimes like I see, dance moves. That's great. But let's talk about this crazy thing. And this is what they call sleepy chicken. Have you heard of sleepy chicken? This is some big trend on social media, on TikTok in particular, where people are marinating chicken, get this, in NyQuil liquid. That's right, NyQuil, the cold medicine that keeps you, like, I guess when you have cold symptoms, when you're coughing, when you have runny nose, people take NyQuil, right? Well, this blue-green liquid, people are using it and marinating their chicken. And then they're cooking the chicken. And you know why they're doing this? Supposedly, it creates sleepy chicken. Great sleepy chicken. So the FDA, the Food Drug Administration here in the United States, has put out an official warning, official announcement telling people, please, please, please do not cook your chicken in NyQuil. Because number one, it probably tastes pretty awful. Blue-green chicken, no, I think that's just a bad idea. I'm sure it's going to taste awful. And number two, even if you don't just eat it, just the process of cooking it, I guess fumes can come out when you're, cooking this medication. So you should really never use medication for any way that is not designed for, right? This is just a bad idea. For the Food and Drug Administration now is warning people not to abuse prescription or non-prescription drugs, and definitely don't do this. And especially this is part of a social media challenge. What a bad idea. So if you haven't heard of this, now you know. Please, my friends, if you watch this show, I don't want anything bad to happen to you. Please don't cook your chicken in NyQuil. And tell me what you think about this. Sadiq says Americans are amazing. Yes, I like to think we're pretty amazing too. Sometimes I'm a little worried, right? You have an American, biting someone in the nose because of a football game. And now someone, I don't know if it's American, but someone marinating their chicken tenders, chicken breast meat, chicken thigh meat, and NyQuil cold medicine, making sleepy chicken. Ah, crazy times. But Vicky's saying bluebird. Bluebird safety warning. In fact, yeah, bluebird. Let's just agree that chicken should be cooked. Like, let's just agree that cooked chicken shouldn't be cooked in all this artificial stuff, right? Um, I think, salt and pepper. Let me know how you cook your chicken. Actually, I'm going to ask you this. What is your favorite chicken recipe? Send me your favorite chicken recipe. Tell me. I'm always looking for different ways. I will tell you, in my household, our favorite thing is the Thomas Keller has this legendary roasted chicken recipe. I kind of modified it slightly, but if you haven't done it, highly recommend. It's a super easy recipe. You can Google it. It's free. Just Google Thomas Keller uh, roasted chicken. If you don't know who Thomas Keller is, he's a legendary chef of French Laundry, Bouchon, and a whole bunch of other really really amazing restaurants. And for the longest time, he's been considered like the top chef here in the United States for years. I don't know if it's still the case, but legendary chef. And wow, his restaurants are so good. But his roasted chicken, really, really good. I promise you, much better and much safer than NyQuil. So thank you so much, my friends, for watching and supporting my program here and our program here. And please take a moment to share this show with someone that you care about. And do like what Vicky and Josh and Sadiq do. Please share the show on social media. Tag me on it so I can properly thank you, because I really, really appreciate Vicky's been like just on fire supporting the show. And I can't appreciate all those efforts enough. And as a reminder, you can find full episodes of Level Up with Winnie Sun on NASDAQ, Amazon Fire, Roku, and many other platforms. And don't forget to check out Yes Factor with Winnie Sun on Apple Podcasts or wherever you tune in to podcasts as well. Take a moment to like this stream and consider subscribing so you'll never miss a live stream or future upload. Thank you so much, my friends. Be well, and we're going to come back with In the Loop for you tomorrow. Take care now.